Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Friday Charge. As always, we are your hosts, Joel and Sebastian, and for today, May 30th, 2025, we've got a handful of topics to discuss, such as updates to the Model S that don't feel like updates, a compact SUV electric vehicle might be dead, and another EV might not be as cheap as it's supposed to be. So without further ado, let's plug in and get started. All right, so let's start. Our first topic for tonight is there's some minor updates coming to the Model S and the Model X that honestly don't really feel like updates. So we've known that Tesla was going to refresh Model S and X for a little while now. You know, they've kind of been pushing tons of incentives towards them and doing all sorts of kind of little weird gimmicks and oddities to try to get them out the door. And now that people have started seeing these refreshed Model S's and X's, people seem to be a little disappointed. So on the exterior, not much has changed, aside from there's the addition of a front bumper cam, a slightly updated front and rear fascia, and on the interior, it looks like Tesla is adding an interior ambient light, similar to what you can find on the Model 3 and Model Y. To the eye, that seems to be about all that's changed. And that's led many fans to be pretty notably disappointed, and probably validly so. Because, I think it's time that Model S and X gets a full-blown refresh. To counter that, though, we don't know that there aren't mechanical differences on these new Model S and Model X cars, especially since a refreshed Model S Plaid has been seen testing on the Nürburgring, which you typically wouldn't do if you weren't doing some form of mechanical changes, especially considering the Model S Plaid has already run the Nürburgring a few times and set records and all that jazz. So I wouldn't expect them to run the refresh car if they didn't expect it to do better, and it wouldn't do better unless they were changing something. So maybe this refresh will be a little bit more than meets the eye, but on the exterior and interior front, it does not look like it might be enough, because, it looks to me like it's going to be pretty hard to tell the difference between a 2024 Model S and a 2025 Model S and a 2026 Model S.
Yeah. So they've kind of been doing this for a while with Model X and Model X. Not really major changes in the last few years, just kind of minor updates. And I don't know. I honestly thought that Tesla would think about probably discontinuing one of these models. I know that shocks people, but quarter one, they only sold 12,000 combined of these vehicles. That's it. That's including Cybertruck and Tesla Semi. Because that's how it's reported. So you're talking S, X, Cybertruck, and Semi, 12,881 vehicles within 3 months. That's not a lot.
Right.
So they have seen probably the sales of S and X come down a lot. I don't think it has to do with the feature. I think it has to do with the price. They're still expensive vehicles.
Right.
Considering you could probably get a Lucid for that price too, and a Lucid is pretty cool looking. So yeah, hopefully the mechanics get upgraded, and we just don't know that yet. But for most people, they want an exterior. They want to see an upgrade. They don't care if it gets 20 miles more of range, or the 0 to 60 time is down 1/10 of a second. That doesn't matter to them. They want to see exterior features. They want to see a refresh like that. So yeah, this does. I don't know. I'm kind of wondering what the future holds for Model S and Model X, because they're just not producing them like they should. So
yeah,
it's kind of sad, but because they're good cars. But the Model X has its issues, with the Falcon Wing doors after several years and things like that. And it takes, you have to take out a small loan to replace the glass if it breaks. But yeah, I just wish they would do something else with these vehicles.
Yep, I agree. I'm a self-professed Model S lover, and even I look at it and I go, it hasn't changed that much in like 14 years.
Yep.
Like, there's been incremental changes over the years, and there's a pretty big difference between like a 2025 Model S and a 2014 Model S.
Yeah.
But really, outside of like an exterior refresh back in 2016, and then 2020 or 2021 when they went from the vertical screen to the horizontal screen.
Yep.
Those have been the two kind of major, and there's been some mechanical changes in there to like heat pump designs and motor designs
but
and
if you're
stuff
just
like
driving
that.
down the road and a Model S passes, you don't like, oh, that's a 2018 or a 2020 or a 2025.
Right.
It's kind of hard to tell. You don't know.
Yeah, and same Model X. Model X has basically been unchanged other than just kind of the under the skin stuff.
Yep.
Since it launched in what, 2016?
Yep. So we're talking 10 years old and no major updates to those vehicles. So I think Tesla needs to do some bull with them, or just, call time of death on them.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Circle K has opened its first EV-only convenience store. Circle K, the massive global chain of convenience stores that bought out my favorite local chain of convenience stores, RIP Big Red, has opened its first EV-only convenience store in Europe. And I think it's pretty sweet. So the store is located in Sweden and features only EV charging, no gas pumps. The site features Kempower hardware with two 600 kilowatt power cabinets for 1.2 megawatts of power, paired to 10 dispensers, with a dispenser able to dish out up to 400 kilowatts of energy. And then while you're charging, the Circle K itself is like every other Circle K store, offering retail, food, a place to hang out, etc. while your car charges. So yeah, I don't have that many other notes on this other than just this is kind of a good little glimpse into the future, because Circle K is a big chain. They're worldwide. They buy gas stations that you love, and
yep. We have a lot of them here in Arkansas.
We have a lot of them here in Arkansas thanks to said acquisition.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, this is just interesting to see. I expect we're going to continue to kind of see stuff like this where gas stations, maybe, instead of opening a gas station, you're just opening an EV charger, kind of like what Anna's doing with their rechargeries and things like that, where they're putting these kind of buildings in with this like little convenience store lounge type area, and then all the chargers, and that's it.
Yep.
That's technically all you need.
Yes. According to the article here from, this is from the EV report, award-winning sausage at these stations too. Fresh pizza, kebab, award-winning sausage. Yes. So this new location is near the Sweden's E6 motorway. 10 ultra-fast 400 kilowatt chargers. So yeah, I'm can charge a vehicle from 0 to 80% in about 15 minutes. I'm sure they're talking about, Porsche and
a vehicle that can
do that. Yes. But yeah, this is cool. I hope we start seeing more of these. And I don't understand why. And it's probably a cost thing. Like gas stations slowly make a transition to EV charging. Like if I have a gas station that has 10 pumps, why don't I switch out 2 of them for EVs? Just, and then in a couple of years, another 2. So I'm sure it's a cost issue, but that just makes sense to already use the existing infrastructure that's over there instead of having to build new infrastructure, especially here in the United States.
Right.
But yeah, this is cool. If we ever go to Sweden, so this is in Garda near central Gothenburg, Sweden, we need to visit this charging station.
It's a cool cathedral in Gothenburg. Anyway.
There we go. We can look at the cathedral and charge at a Circle K. Yes.
There we go. Sounds great.
Yep.
Moving on. The Niro EV might be dead. So Kia has been seen testing the new redesigned Niro in Korea to bring the model more in line with its newest design language and feature set found in their other models. And the rumors have begun circulating that Kia will be discontinuing the all-electric variant of the car. To me, this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kia has another newer compact full-size SUV, or electric SUV, the EV3, which has been doing very well in global markets. And it doesn't make a ton of sense to sell the electric Niro alongside the EV3, considering they exist in basically the same size category, in the same range, and the same charging, and this, just a lot of the same, right? Except I guess the EV3 is technically an EGMP car, so it probably charges a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this doesn't surprise me. The e-Niro or the electric Niro, at least in the United States, has never been a huge seller.
Mm-hmm.
And especially once we start getting the EV3 here in the US, me personally, if I was at a Kia dealership and I was looking at, and there was an EV3 and a Niro sitting right next to each other, I'm picking the EV3.
They could say the Niro's on older,
Right.
Older,
I mean, even after if they redesign it, unless it just looks amazing compared to the EV3, I'm picking the EV3.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we haven't, especially around here, I haven't seen any electric Konas on lots for months because we've been trying to reach out to dealerships to review one, and they're just not bringing them over right now. Even before the tariffs, we haven't seen a lot on the loss. What do you think? What do you think this has to? Do you think this will have anything to do with the Kona?
It's a good question. I bet they're built in the same factory. So that said, I don't.
Hyundai doesn't have a cheaper model coming out right now.
As I said, I don't seem to remember Hyundai having any announcements for like an Ioniq 3 or something like.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Look at that. Things that make you go, Yes. But yeah, I'm sure if they keep it as a plug-in hybrid option, I think that would be cool. I mean,
right.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I mean, Kia has, gone all in, saying they're going to have, I don't know, 14 models, 12 models, 11 models by so-and-so, which is like, 2 years away or something like that. So I'm glad they're keeping their foot on the pedal. But yeah, the Kia Niro is kind of long in the tooth, and there's other cars in Kia's pipeline that can replace.
Yep. Moving on to other weirdness from Kia. The EV4 might not be that cheap.
Why is that, Sebastian?
According to Inside EVs, Kia has confirmed that U.S. market EV4s will be built in South Korea, not at the United States, which poses a few issues, as everyone knows. The EV4 is supposed to be the brand's new cheapest EV or cheaper EV model for the U.S., but if it's built in South Korea, then it's going to be subject to a 25% tariff, which also is currently affecting the Hyundai Ioniq 6. But also, if it's built in Korea, it's going to not be able to qualify for a $7,500 tax credit if they'll stay around.
If they're around.
Which makes it a little awkward because the EV6, currently sold in the United States, is built in the United States, meaning it doesn't get import tariffs, and it currently qualifies for the $7,500 tax credit. So this is just odd to me in various ways. I still think it's a shame that we don't get the hatchback of this car in the US and we're only getting sedan, because I think the sedan is ugly as sin. Like that is not a good look right there.
You're not looking. You don't like that. It's got a lot of booty. That car's got a lot of booty to it.
It's got weird hips and the front end doesn't look awesome.
It's like someone took a EV6 and a K4 and had a baby. It's what it looks like.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what's happening. What is that, the C-pillar?
Yep.
What the heck is happening there?
I know, but something's going on. Yeah, something's going on back there. I don't know what's going on in that back.
And go to the next picture, please.
Yeah.
Those body lines are awful.
Yeah, and how the charge port door is half over the wheelbase when you shut it.
That doesn't bother me that much.
A lot of piano black in that car too. A lot of piano black.
Like the trunk lid and just that whole rear end design is just.
It looks like this is like a small. So, do you open the trunk little here or big? Because there's a line, as you see, going across the middle.
I think it's just the trunk. It's not a hatchback, I don't think, because there's a hatchback version that looks 10 times better.
Then what's with that line?
It's probably glass, but I don't know.
It looks like it's two pieces, but that would be a small opening for a trunk.
Piano black, and it's just to make it look. I don't know. It is not an attractive looking car. It does have knacks, and it's technically in a correct location.
This is the GT line though, so that we're showing. If you're on audio, we're showing a picture of the EV4. Yeah, I think that's just I think that's just a line that goes across. I don't think it's like an opening.
No. I think that's probably the top of the trunk lid.
Okay.
And it's probably either is a piece of glass or it's a piece of piano black, so it blends in with the window.
Or some sort of tint, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know.
It looks good from the front, and then you get to the back, and you're like,
it looks okay from the front.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say good, but it looks okay.
Yes.
And the hatchback looks 10 times better, and I think it's dumb that we're not getting it in the US, but maybe we're not getting it in the US because it would compete too much with the EV6, especially if they have to jack prices up because of tariffs and lack of tax credit. Maybe they knew what they were doing all along and were like, well, you can have an ugly sedan and the EV6.
So I need to make a note not to get Sebastian EV3 for Christmas. Let me make that.
No, EV3 is fine, not an EV4.
Sorry, EV4. No, EV4 for Sebastian for Christmas. Okay, I wrote that down. So there we go.
Hold on, I'm not done. You know what? I'm not done.
Oh, Lord, here he goes. He's pulling up the hatchback picture.
I am pulling up the hatchback picture. Dang it.
You have a thing for hatchbacks. I ain't gonna lie, my son has a gas power car. It's a hatchback, and I kind of like it. I like toying around with it and whipping it around and things like that. It's fun.
Because look at this.
It's gonna be beautiful.
Look at this. Look at this. Hold on. As soon as Riverside lets me share my screen. There we go. Share screen. Image 4. Share. That is 10 times better.
That's so much better. Yes,
That is
I'd rather
so
us
much
get the
better.
hatchback, but I could see it competing with. I could see that competing with the EV6. Yes.
But like, and I seriously makes me think when they designed the sedan, they didn't know what to do, so they just took a saw basically to this section and then left everything else the same.
Just kind of just threw everything up there, and if it's stuck, they're
Because
like,
that
okay,
is
we'll just
so
keep that.
much better.
It is. I must say it is. The hatchback
Okay.
does look a whole lot better than sedan. I'll give you credit for
Okay.
that. I'll awfully tell you when you're right. You're right on that one. Mark that date down too. Today's date, and Sebastian was right. Let's mark that down too. Okay.
All right,
yes.
Joel.
There
Moving on. I'll stop
There we-
complaining about the EV4.
Okay.
My bad. Let's talk about what we drove last weekend.
Yeah, so that was an interesting last weekend. So if those of you who live in the South know that we have been inundated with rain for the past like 3 weeks. So it's not the best weather, or not the best thing if you're trying to review cars. So we'll start off with our first review, which you got to keep overnight, and that was the Silverado RST. So I'll let you start with that because we've reviewed the work truck, and we've reviewed the LT, correct? No, just the work truck.
Yep.
Yes, I was in RST for a while, but it was like ride passenger and for like 20 minutes, so I didn't get a chance to really do anything with it or play with it or move the buttons around, things like that. So huge shout out to Everett Chevrolet. They've been great to work with. They let us have cars overnight. I'm gonna give them a shout out for that. And you got to pick it up Friday, so you had to play around with it Friday night and do some stuff with it, and try out the charging at your house. Did you get the charge with it at your house?
I actually did not charge it at my house. I should have, but I
wanted to
didn't.
see a graph. I wanted to see some data.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Because when I picked it up, it was at 80%. When I got home, it was like 75%. And
we're so glad that they charge it for us, but we really don't need dealerships to charge cars for us when we test them, because half the time we get them, they're charged 80%, and we don't have time to get it down to 20%, especially in a Silverado. We'd be out driving it for 3 or 4 hours, and to get it down to where we needed to do some kind of charging test on it. So your thoughts on it, because you've driven a couple of these.
Just as you were saying, Cruz, I don't think you'll see this, but if you see this, Cruz, thank you so much. You're awesome to deal with.
Yes,
I appreciate you. But when he went to get me the key, give it to me, he was like, "Oh, let me go take it off the charger." It was at 18%, and I didn't want to give it to you that low. And I could tell he was so confused when I just went, "Oh man."
Yeah, we like it low like that. You can do so
because
much with it.
There's a 350 kilowatt station
about
like
2 miles
half
away.
A mile
yes,
from the dealership, and I was like, "Yeah, I get to take a GM 12 or 24 module pack, and actually, for the first time in my life, see 350 kilowatt charging."
Didn't happen.
I get to see, what is that? 50, 100, 200, 300, 7 times the speed of what I can get on my Chevy Bolt.
Yes. I think
anyway, it didn't happen.
The Pilot J would have been humming. Yep.
And my wallet would be empty. That's a different story.
Yes. Especially getting a payday loan to charge the car because it's going to cost them $100 to charge it.
But it was exciting. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, picked it up. Was clean. Was fully charged. Thank you, Cruz. Appreciate it. And I went and got to play around with some. Got some B-roll shots. Played around. Figured out how to do low ride mode, which was fun. And yeah, so we'll have a full video going on. But so we've not too long ago had a Sierra EV Denali, which is like what a Denali is supposed to be, right? It's kind of it's a luxury truck. It is a nice truck. It's something, and it's honestly, it's kind of your grandpa's idea of luxury, right?
Yep.
You and I are from the South. We know what kind of people usually drive Sierra Denalis.
Yep. Their wives drive Yukons or Tahoes. That's the same people. So yeah.
Anyway, and the Sierra EV Denali does all of that excellent. Soft touch materials everywhere, leather, all the good stuff. This RST Silverado, on the other hand, has a little bit more of a sporting vibe to it. It's also on 24-inch wheels, but they have more of a sporty look. It has more of that avalanche look on the outside. The inside has like blue and red stitching and like red piping. And it's got this kind of more rubbery material in places, kind of has that more sporty feel. That's it. It drives almost identical to the Sierra because it's the same motor, same platform, same steering rack, I'm sure, etc. I did feel like, and it probably isn't true, I did feel like it turned sharper, that the rear wheel steering might have been a little more aggressive. I don't have anything to back that up off of, and it was probably just in my head. But I feel like I could turn it pretty tight. I mean, you were in the car with me that one time where I just went lock to lock and just, and I mean,
yeah,
it
we were
was
in the
pretty
parking
good.
lot. You swinging around in a circle really, really quick.
I mean, I was
Yeah.
able to swing around without getting out of the parking spots. So,
And
on
those
a
of you who
vehicle that
haven't
big's pretty
driven a
impressive.
car with rear wheel steer, it's a very different, interesting feeling. It feels like you're fishtailing the car every time you turn.
Yeah.
It
So
feels
speaking of,
yes.
let's just go ahead and move on into the next car. What did we drive after that?
After that was the Mercedes EQE SUV, which also has rear wheel steer, which is odd because rear wheel steer, we've had them on the bigger cars. The Hummer, Sierra, Escalade IQ, I believe, had rear wheel steer, correct? Did it? I don't remember. Yes, it does. So all the big GM cars had the rear wheel steer on them, EVs. It's weird to have it on a smaller, SUV here, but it did feel like you were kind of fishtailing it out or hitting a puddle when you pull out. It's a feeling that takes getting some used to. But we want to give a shout out to Mercedes of Little Rock for letting us borrow that off short notice too as well. They really didn't have a lot in stock, so this was a 2023 we got, correct?
Yes,
but it was only
had like 700 miles on it.
Yeah, so not many miles on it at all. And I'm sure there wasn't much difference between the 23s to the 24s to the 25s. Probably not much upgrades. But I liked it. I mean, I really liked this vehicle. It was our first time ever, driving and reviewing a Mercedes. So we weren't very familiar with the software. We weren't very familiar with the platform and things like that. But I really enjoyed it. And, we'll have a review come out in a couple weeks. And you'll see our full review and thoughts of that. But what about you, Sebastian? What kind of initial things did you take away from
so I just did a quick Google because I wanted to see. So the rear wheel steer on the EQE SUV is up to 10 degrees.
Okay.
The rear wheel steer on the Hummer EV is also up to 10 degrees.
Wow.
So that explains.
It's like you're turning at a 90-degree angle when you come out of something with rear wheel steer. That's what it feels like. It feels like you're doing a straight 90-degree angle. That's what it, yeah.
I mean, that explains a lot because the EQE is not that long of an SUV. Nope. It's not, not like the Hummer. And so if you've got 10 degrees of rear steer, that explains why. I mean, it was like you turn and it was trippy.
Yeah.
Just immediately getting in it and turning like in the parking lot even and just being like, whoa.
Yep. Oh. Yep. I don't have to swing it wide or anything like that to pull in a parking spot. It just goes right in. So yeah. So that was a very fun car to drive. Yep.
It's a Mercedes-Benz, man. It's a luxury car. It's a nice car. Those things, they might not have like the biggest charging peaks or whatever, but they seem to have pretty decent curves. It had okay range. It was like 269 miles because we were in the EQE 500 4MATIC, all-wheel drive, So that hurt range a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it seemed to be nice. The software looked really intimidating at first, but ultimately wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad, nope.
I was able to enable the driver's assistance features on the first try.
Yay!
Which on German cars cannot be understated.
If you ever watch any of our German car reviews, ID, Porsche, so the driver assistant gets Sebastian some fits sometimes. So.
Maybe it's just a Volkswagen problem. Maybe that's what it is.
Yep. Because the Porsche was... Did you have issues with the Porsche or not?
Yes, but the Porsche's a Volkswagen. So.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just a VW thing.
It's a VW thing, yes.
Anyway, but yeah, I was able to get the driver assistance to work the first time. Seemed to do a pretty dang good job.
We didn't have an issue with the BMW driver assistance either.
I had one issue, but it wasn't the car's fault.
Yeah.
Well, it was kind of the car's fault, but I don't blame the car for it.
Yeah.
So the BMW system is dumb. Not dumb. It works really well.
Yeah.
You don't get hands-free if the car isn't registered to an account.
Yeah.
Because it uses semi-pre-mapped pre-mapping for the driver's assistance, and it won't download the mapping data if you don't have a BMW, whatever they call their BMW Connect subscription.
Yeah, because I remember when we originally did that review, we were like, this car should have driver's assist. Why doesn't? And then afterward, I think we did some research on it and found out that it didn't. So yeah.
Yeah. And that was why. So it was like that system worked fine, and I was able to get it enabled pretty much immediately, but it didn't work fully because you have to have anyway. Which, I mean, that's not unique. Like Super Cruise, you have to have a subscription for Super Cruise. But it was just a little confusing because literally the only reason it didn't work is because the car didn't have data.
Yep.
It's not like they were charging a separate subscription for the hands-free system. It was just because since the car wasn't activated,
it was in demo
didn't
mode.
have, yeah. Which
We have that issue with a lot of cars in demo mode.
But you would think, like for driver's assistance stuff, in demo mode, the driver's assistance would do everything.
Yeah, because you can do Super Cruise in demo
the
mode.
Car.
Yeah, Super Cruise works in demo mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a little weird. That's not the subject of this. We were talking about the EQE. Yeah, I liked it a lot. You'll see the review on it. It started raining at this point a little bit, and so we didn't go too crazy with it. Didn't spend too much time out with it because last thing I need is for it to be raining in Arkansas and we get rear-ended.
Yes.
Which
brings us to our last car, which
brings us to the last car.
This review is actually,
didn't spend a lot of time on.
Yeah, this review is actually out this week. It's 10 minutes long, so if you're like, hey, your videos are too long, 10 minutes on this one. It's quick and dirty. It is the redesigned Kia EV6. So shout out to Landers Kia, actually, which was cool because we were able to get this car on very short notice because we were out that day, and all these dealerships are actually within like walking distance of each other. Well, at least Mercedes and Kia, they're on the same road. So it was nice to get that. But as soon as we picked it up, we got out, set up the cameras, and it just starts pouring. So if you want a quick 10-minute review of a Kia EV6, check out that video just released Wednesday. So some of the quick updates. A lot of exterior, not many interior and software. That's the gist of it, correct?
Yeah, basically new charge port, new software, new front end.
Some different aesthetic. Some of the material they use
instead
of the carpet, it's now a little more harder plastic on the dash. But more of an
bigger
EV,
battery. That's what it was.
Yeah, it has more of an EV9 vibe to it than the older model did. So yeah.
But otherwise, it's an EV6. It drives like an EV6. It rides like an EV6. It still looks like an EV6.
Now, some of the comments we got were about the seats being more.
I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice it, and I drive. I mean, we have an EV6, and I sit. I did notice that the leather wasn't as bright. Like in my car, it's a black leather, and this one was more of like a dark gray leather, which I like a lot more. And it did. I don't know if they switched materials. I don't know if they went from if the vegan leather has changed or what. But it just looked better. But I didn't know the seats being narrow.
I didn't notice a seat difference or anything like that.
One comment we got was saying the car sits too high. I mean, I'm 6'1". I don't feel like the car sits that you.
I feel like the EV6 sits low.
Yeah, and I don't feel like you sit too high up in that.
Like, to me, the EV6 has more of a low slung feel to it, especially like the Ioniq 5 sits more like a regular crossover does. But to me, it feels like the EV6 sits lower. I know it probably doesn't.
Nope.
But it feels like it to me.
So Silverado Mercedes review's coming out in a couple weeks. EV6 review is out now if you want to check that out.
Yep. All right. Well, that is a wrap for today's episode. Thank you all for plugging into the Friday Charge. Be sure to subscribe to the EV Geek podcast on YouTube and tap the notification icon to be notified about new releases. Next week, we will release our review of the Vistic and another video that we haven't recorded yet, and who knows what it'll be about. If you have any thoughts or questions, drop them in the comments below because we would love to hear from you. So long, everyone, and we will see you on the next episode of The Friday Charge.